Hello, and welcome to Success Secrets and Stories. I'm your host, John Wandolowski, and this is our presentation on stories author to author, where we get a chance to discuss with an author the motivations and approach they did for writing their books and the subjects that are near and dear to their hearts. Today, I'd like to introduce Amanda May Philp, and we're going to be talking about her book, Love Child. Welcome, Amanda.
Hi.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. It's nice to be here.
Oh, awesome. So I had an opportunity to read a little bit about your book, and it's an amazing story, but it's like you just opened up your heart and you started to write. Tell us a little bit about the motivation and the style in which you wrote the book that was intriguing.
Motivation is, I don't know. To be honest with you, I did a lot of writing for the government when I worked for the government. I did a lot of writing in school. The generation that I grew up in, we were required to write and rewrite. And I just did a lot of writing. I wrote songs when I was a kid. I guess I started to write the story because I got to a certain age and thought, how did I get to be in my 50s?
How did I get here?
Yeah, like where did all my people go? Where did my money go? Where did my relationships go? How come I don't have anything? Right. Why am I not allowed to have a good time anymore because somebody thinks there's something wrong with me? And I just thought, how short can a life be to get a whole life in there? And if people have ideas about what they want their kids to do, or what they want their class to do, or what they want their countrymen to do, you get caught up in a bunch of demands and expectations, and you get to a certain point in your life and you say, hey, wait a minute, I didn't get to do anything I wanted to do. Like I was just so busy trying to survive and make sure the people around me were okay. And you end up doing everything anybody asks you to do. And I don't know if that's a girl thing. I don't think so, because I think most of us like to be compliant. To get along.
We're trying to please people, right?
Sure. And I'm not saying that I'm a people pleaser because, my immediate family's always called me a rebel, which probably means I didn't do what they wanted me to do exactly. I'm not saying they don't love me, so I just got to that point and I thought I should write this down, especially when AI and the online community got so big and became so prevalent in terms of what we did with each other. I noticed that our socializing changed. A lot of it was online. A lot of our opinions were out there online. And I just was at a point where I had a couple of relationships. I'd raised a couple of children. They weren't actually my birth kids. And things were getting a little bit tricky legally for me in terms of my relationships and where I lived and how I went to work and what I did for a living, because I had been alive for longer than 2 decades. And so I had done more than one thing. And I just thought, you have young people, or not young people, people younger than me, sit down and say, we're going to blow this whole thing up and we're going to fix this shit. And I get it. I totally get it because I grew up in an activist era with the Vietnam War. My parents came out of the Second World War. My grandparents came out of the First World War. We know what activism is. I was around just before. I mean, my mother was alive when we were fighting for the vote for women in Canada, just to vote for a leader.
Yeah.
And my grandmother, who had been through 2 world wars and had a bunch of kids, I remember when I was in I think it was 8 or 9 years old, and she said, it's lovely because now women are no longer chattels and you can do whatever you like. And I didn't know what chattels meant, but the idea of anybody owning me was pretty foreign. I mean, I certainly didn't grow up that way. I grew up in a very religious household, but in terms of being at school, everybody was all different colors and we were from all different places. Most of us had accents. And I didn't really, when you're younger, you're not really trained out of that yet. Everybody has a different thing their parents want them to do, and you kind of come together through certain things that are considered holidays here that may be of a white Anglican nature. If I can narrow that down. But at the end of the day, like people are celebrating Kwanzaa and Hanukkah and all kinds of different holidays from different countries, and you got to squish them into a certain part of the year so that we can all get a holiday, and then we got to figure out what piece of it we can do and not do and still be part of humankind.
And when
Um,
you were writing about the experience, not only what I thought was interesting, the breadth of the different people that were intertwined in your life, but
oh
as you
yeah,
said, how they actually interacted, how they had different wants and needs and aspirations, and
they,
how that really affected you and how you saw yourself and how those things changed through time and through situations.
well, yeah. I mean, if you're anybody who's raised with a religious format, and it doesn't matter what religion it is, anything in the entire world, if you're raised with a religious format, some kind of a guidance that you go through, whether it be the Ten Commandments or whether you're looking at a completely different document, you all have some way that you move forward in the world that has a moral basis with which to operate with your fellow man, right? So when
Right.
you apply that to how you go about your life, you get nuances from different things. And if you're in a country where you have a large amount of immigration, which Canada does, you're going to be constantly exposed to different languages and different music and different food and different biases and cultural leanings and religious uh, impetuses and impediments. You're going to be subject to those. And if you're in a country where you've got all of them, like you're not just one, you've got all of them, they're going to bring their histories in from where they came from. You've got the histories from where you come from, even if you're just first generation or second generation. And
Right.
Canada itself, like any other country, has its bloodthirsty background as well. And there's always going to be somebody claiming that they were here first that you have to get along with. Um, and I guess when I saw things during COVID that seemed to reach a fever pitch, and
Sure.
I thought
Yeah.
this is crazy. Like you've got people dying of isolation and loneliness, and dying because people won't accept the decisions that they made, which
Right.
means that what you're not allowed to make your own decisions. And then suddenly we had this wave of mental illness, and I thought, how can that possibly be? Like, I didn't grow up with a bunch of mentally ill people, and there certainly aren't, road warriors mowing down people high as a kite and drunk out of their minds. I mean, those are
Yeah.
isolated incidences that spawn all kinds of organizations, so that kind of thing never happens again. But let's face it, we can't stop we can't stop Israel from bombing Gaza. You know what I mean? Like we've been through two world wars, we've been through countless things, and we still can't stop any of that stuff from
Yeah.
happening. And so I wanted to write it down and say, look, this is my name. This is where I came from. This is what happened to me. I have other things I have to deal with. Apart from my religiousness, I have to deal with my sex, and I have to deal with the fact that I don't necessarily enjoy doing the same things that traditionally women are seen as enjoying. There's nothing wrong with me. I just didn't
Right.
grow up that way. I mean, if you grow up in Alberta and you can ride a bucking bronco, I'm not really sure why you're expected to, show up for cooking class. Like, you've got different things that different people know how to do.
Right.
And so when I started to list all the things I knew how to do, people started to make fun of me and say, girls can do anything. Well, that wasn't really the point. The point was there wasn't anything wrong with me. I'd simply lived for 6 decades, and here's what happened to me. And so this is how I came to be. And I wanted to be able to say that online or generally to everybody to say, this is who I am, this is my position, this is how I think and I believe. And if you have a legal problem or a moral issue with that, then you're going to have to come and talk to me about it, negotiate that with me, because I'm too young to be pushed, too old to be pushed around anymore. I
Okay.
already know who
Yeah.
I am. I have a history there. If you
Right.
want to object to the history, change it the way you want it and tell me what you'd like me to do so that you can be more comfortable with me living in the world with you. And since there's like this many people in the whole world that fits into this much of the land in the whole world, I just thought the whole global warming and the sky's been falling ever since I was born. I don't hear anybody doing anything different than when I was 2 years old, 10 years old, 20 years old. It's just the same stuff. We all talk about the same thing. We all complain about the same thing. We're all
Yeah.
jealous or upset about the same thing. We're all trying to get away with stuff. We all want to judge everybody. And at the end of the day, you can't. All you can say is, this is what happened to me in my life. This is who I am. This is how I came to be who I am. And by the way, I'm sorry if you're 25 and you don't want to blow a doob with me. Is it okay if I go over here with the 60-year-olds? You're not going to put me into a psych ward because
Right.
I'm not, will you? Because I actually grow some pretty good stuff out there, and it's legal now. So
Yeah, now it's okay.
yeah, and I also think that we hang a lot of our younger people out to dry. We just hang them out there with nowhere to go and say, "Oh, you burned that bridge," or you didn't do it the way we wanted you. You didn't take this name. You didn't do it that way. You're not of this faith. It's crap. Like at the end of the day, there's not an adult out there who isn't as wild as the 20-year-old that's coming up behind us. And
Yeah,
I and
we had
I want to,
memories. We had those
yeah,
experiences. I,
yeah.
just a little sidelight. Something that's interesting about the way that you told your story is that at certain times you would actually break away and you would put rhyme and verse together. It's like a stop point, and then you.
Oh, that's
Well,
just me. I've been
that's
writing songs.
okay. That's a very
Yeah,
good thing. I mean, as an author, I wrote a story that
yeah.
was my dialogue, and then the person who I really learned a lot from, and I used his voice, Dr. Durst.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's not I have two voices in my context.
Uh-huh.
That isn't what I think I'm trying to say here. I think the breakaway and the way that you use those poems give another insight to the words that you were trying to use. Tell us a little bit about the writing of the poems.
Well, those are actually songs that I.
I stand corrected.
No, no, they come out like poems because there's no music, and that's not the place to put them. But I've been writing them ever since I was a little girl. I've had books and books and books of them. Sometimes when you put something into a song, you can be more succinct about it, and
Yes.
you can get the exact feeling in that moment from that in such a way that anybody who looks at that, they might not identify with the story. I mean, it's just a dumb story about some girl who grew up in the colonies. It's not outstanding in any way. It's something you can relate to because there are elements of it that you might have an affinity with. But beyond that, yeah, like if you ever stood in an arena where you had somebody stand there with a guitar and just play. I've had like I saw Elvis Costello once, and he said, people were just hungry for that human connection. They wanted you
Right.
to just go out and stand there and play. Gordon Lightfoot used to do that, of course.
Sure.
Many people did, but I think when you put it into a song, you can, or a poem, you can capture that nuance perfectly, and it doesn't have to be told in the correct way. It
Right.
doesn't have to be politically correct. It's that little and we all went, yeah, I know what that feels like. I got it. And because it's in a song and it's not related to a story and it's not touching anybody else, it's just out there by itself. And you go, yeah, I know what that is. I felt that before. I get it. It's that little encapsulation where you can say, yeah, I get it. I get it.
And another thing that the song, the sonnets kind of picked out was also the moments where you had your creativity. The things in terms of awakening, the things that kind of talk about a broader picture, the things that you've seen that you weren't looking for, but as time goes on, other things become clearer. The cosmic piece, the astrology piece,
You turn
those
around,
kind of things.
you turn around one day and you go, oh my God, really? That's what you thought? I was just living my life. I didn't realize you got all that
Yeah.
from what I was doing. I didn't realize that that's what you gleaned from it, or that's how you saw it, or that's how you read it. That's not how I meant it. It's not what my intention was as I was living.
Okay.
But you saw that happen, or you were part of it, and your take on it was quite different because of where you come from, or how you think,
Right.
or what your training has been. Um, but I think at the end of the day, the human heart, no matter what kind of machinations you do with your mind, because
Right.
anybody can be a genius and anybody can be as stupid it can be.
Right.
But it really comes from the state of what your heart is in. because your mental gymnastics, you can do all kinds of stuff with it. I mean, we rationalize ourselves in and out of all kinds of crazy things. But the human heart feels and beats the same way as everybody on the other side of the world. We all feel the same stuff for the
Right.
same
Yeah.
things. And I just thought, I don't know, that's more of I mean, it's one thing to come out and say, this is who I am and this is what happened to me. And, this is what I think about all this stuff, since
Right.
apparently there's a reckoning coming and I need to come out and explain myself. But the songs, that's a different thing. Everybody
Yeah.
has a situation or a feeling. They go, oh God, that's what that felt like. I know what that felt like because that happened to me when this happened. And
Right.
now you're together. Now you're not shooting each other. Now you're together because you get it. Can't
Yeah.
fix it,
Because
maybe.
we're all in this ride together on the blue marble, and it's just,
like it or not.
and we only have so much time that we're going to be on this earth plane. So
Yeah,
might
and
as well make.
I'm really confused about that too, because we have this thing about longevity,
Right.
about how we want to live a long time. All of our religions are based on some kind of forever, whether it's on the earth, whether it's in heaven, whether it's burning in hell. Like there's a forever quality to everything that we put into it, and yet we do these things that shorten our lives. We dropped dead at the age of 49. My grandmother was dead at 49.
Yeah.
Two husbands, two sets of kids, and two world wars at 49. It was over. And I thought, wow. My other grandmother was 104 and she just mourned because she didn't want to go yet. And the only problem was there wasn't anybody of her generation to relate to. And
Yeah.
she was actually the most fun person of all the people I know, to be honest
Yeah.
with you. She
Yeah.
was the most fun. Like if I ever wanted to go and party or go and get dressed up and do stuff, I mean, I would grab her any day. I could go and do stuff with her because life was exciting. And I
Yeah.
don't know if at a certain point in time, we turn around and look at our parents or we turn around and look at our kids and we say, that's not okay. That's not okay what you did. It's not okay that you did that. It's not okay that you loved that you felt that way, that you used that time in your life to do this instead of that. That's wrong. Or I don't like that you did that. And I have some control over you. So now what? You're going to shorten my life because you disagreed with my decisions? I'm not sure how that works. And I'm not
Yeah.
sure religiously where that puts people. Um, Everything I've ever seen in current religions from Constantine forward, unless you've got Muslims, which are probably, somebody's going to get upset with me, but I think I'm looking more at the 1500s. I'm not sure because I wasn't raised that way. But when you look at all of these religions, at some point in time, if we were around for 350,000 years and not just 6,000 like the Bible said, I'm pretty sure men weren't always considered the ones who ran everything. I'm pretty sure at some point it must have been women, and we must have blown it. And men said, that's enough of you people. We're going to do it now. And so, now here we are. And I don't know if it's a balancing act over, hundreds of thousands of generations of people. But the idea that we've been here for like this long and this many people get to decide is just ludicrous.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I don't
Yeah.
really get why we do that to ourselves. There's
I
no
think.
earthly reason why you can't live beyond 150 years old. I just don't understand why you don't unless you're breaking your heart over everything. In
Yeah.
which case, that's a choice the heart makes to say, I can't deal with the pain of being alive, and that's awful.
I think one of the elements of how long our lives are. I think there's one religion that talks about that we come back, and it's
Reincarnation.
in the incarnation. Personally, I heard one explanation that hell is that they keep bringing you back until you get it right.
If you got it right, they would never admit it. And they'd say, no, you did not get it. Maybe you did for a second, and that person over there thinks so, but no, 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 no. They'd never let
Yeah.
you have it.
Just imagine how many retreads I've already gone through before I got to this point.
I know. I know. I mean, I think of that in terms of my relationships. And I don't know what it's like for men, so I can't talk to it. But for me, I was always like, am I going to be good enough? Am I thin enough? Do I make enough money? Am I pretty enough? am I this, that, or the other? And in the end, it doesn't really matter. Like
No,
it just
all
doesn't
the
matter.
insecurities are there. Like I've
Yeah.
been married for 50 years. I'm pretty sure if you ask my wife, has it been just a magnificent ride for 50 years? Oh, heck no. Heck no. It's like a roller coaster ride that gets higher and lower as you get older. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
it's all part of you've bought the ticket, enjoy the ride. You can hate the
Yeah.
ride or you can enjoy the ride.
You might
Um
as well. You might as well.
oh yeah. I
Yeah.
mean technically there's more I see from my point of view by far that is more positive than negative. If I want to find the negative, it's there. If I want to try to hold on to something, I'll hold on to the things that are good.
Yeah.
Another thing that you brought up in a book that I thought was interesting that people should be able to relate to, that I think they'd find interesting, the Northern Lights, and how
Oh, the Northern Lights.
and how it affected you, and obviously it's still affecting you. I mean, that the importance of not only where you live but how close to being by the Northern Lights, and how that really has, it was part of your book. Tell us about it in your book.
Oh, the Northern Lights, like when you get into the when you get into some of the other provinces, you don't really see them in Ontario, and I haven't spent a lot of time in the eastern provinces. Um, but I don't think you see them in Newfoundland either. I know you can see them in Manitoba, although I never have because I was born there, but I was there for like maybe 3 months because my
Yeah.
dad was in the army, so it's not a place that I'm really familiar with. Um, Saskatchewan, I know that you can see them. I have seen them in Saskatchewan. The sky is so big you can't miss them. And at first you go, what is that? But farther north, like if you go into the Yukon and in the Northwest Territories, and I
Right.
can't tell you honestly that I experienced this. This was a woman who was Inuit. And please forgive me if I use the wrong term because there's two here, and one of them is not considered to be respectful. So the ones that lived in the snow, like way way north in the snow. So
Sure.
the reason I talked about it is because I had a friend who went to the Sahara Desert. They have a dune there that is in the middle of the Sahara, and you can see the Milky Way over it. At night, of course, in the desert, it gets very, very cold. But she said you couldn't sleep. It was like having sequins in a big swath above you. And I
Wow.
thought, wow, that's just like up north, like this woman told me, because she lived up there and they had to fly her in fact, it took her 9 hours to get from where she lived just into Toronto. That's how far north she was. And she was the one that told me that they crunch and you can't sleep at night sometimes because they're so close to where the northern lights actually happen. You can hear the crunching of the movements. And I thought, oh wow, that's amazing.
Wow.
And then
Yeah.
then it dawned on me it's the same thing. Like you can't if you go into a desert, you can't see anything. And yet there are towns right in front of you. The same if you go up north. I know that they're igloos. I know that they're islands because when we were in public school, they taught us how to build igloos. They taught us how to cut out stuff and make stuff like that. I don't
Sure.
think it was for survival per se. I think it was just something that we did because that was part of our geography. The same thing, like when I was in kindergarten, we used to pass around a jar of milk and shake it until it turned into butter. That was just something we did when we were in kindergarten. So it's just one of the things we learned how to do. But the northern lights up here are really something because you don't see them all the time. And then when they come out, um, I can't explain it. It's like you know those lamps they had in the 60s. Uh,
The lava lamps.
Thank you, the lava lamps. Yeah, it was like watching something like that in the sky. And they could be green. I remember the one night time I saw them, they were very, very green. It startled me. I didn't know you could see colors like that in the night.
Yeah.
And it just made you think about what the stars did up there, that it could actually reflect certain colors back to you here on the earth. But yeah, the northern lights are spectacular. I can't really say enough about them. I've seen them here in British Columbia as well. Not as often because once you get close to the ocean, a lot of that stuff gets blocked out because of condensation and mountain ranges and things
Mm.
like that. So for me, I've always found them more accessible in the flatter parts of Canada. But yeah, the northern lights are literally lights like curtains that move across the sky, and they make a crunching sound. I have not heard them as a large crunching sound that would keep me up at night, but you
Yeah.
can hear, infinitesimally, you can hear it off in the distance. There is a crunching sound of this stuff moving. And if you didn't know it was just light, you would think something was going to happen, like something bad was going to happen or the sky
Right.
was falling. Yeah. Yeah.
But there was definitely a moment in time that you wanted to write about it. It was something that, as in the rest of your book, those are moments in time that you found that the reflection and how you look back on how that affected you and the other people that were in your life, and how you stepped back and kind of did a little bit of a review of how they affected your life
Yeah.
and pushed you
Yeah.
forward or held you back.
Yeah. I have to say that I get this from my father. I find it very difficult to stay in one place. The idea of my dad never bought a house and settled down because he always thought then it would be all over. And so
Mm,
he had that thing in him, it would just be all over. And I
yeah.
think of all the kids. Oh, am I still there?
You are still here. Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. I'm sorry. I managed to knock something off the table. It came off. Um, but it was something I got from my dad. I always had that thing of if I stay here, is this going to be it? Like, then this will be it. Like, that'll be it. Like, I got to keep going so I can see the next thing and see what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
And I always felt that way. And it must be from when I was in grade one. You got that sea to shining sea, and you sang the anthem, and you get romantic ideas in your head because you're just a kid, right? And I always thought, oh yeah, I live from sea to shining sea, and I am allowed to go from there all the way down to there. And I
Sure.
loved it. Like, I love being in motion. I love the going. I love the adventure. Um, it's nice to have a place where, you can call home and put your stuff, but not having grown up that way. The idea that I could just move across from one end of the country to the other without any repercussion, it never dawned on me as a woman. There might be different expectations. Never occurred to me in a second. And of course, and then you have my grandmother saying, "You're not a child. You're so clever. You could do whatever you wanted." And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
off I went without really giving it much more thought than that.
Well,
Yeah,
they
and I have.
empowered. I mean, there was an empowerment too, so that the women in your life who were examples of something to emulate and something not to emulate were all in your story. And
Yes,
I
I
I
did.
think
Yes.
I think that all intertwines to who you are and what you've become because of those experiences. We're getting kind of close to the end. Is there something that you would like to talk about to let people know that this is a book that they should read?
I'd really like it if men thought it was an interesting book to read. I think there are things in it that happened to me that happened to men as well. I think that women um, I think that women get sort of backed up into a corner and confused about what they can and can't do with their lives. And I I I don't know what to tell you. I like men a lot. I love working with them. I like doing stuff with them. And I don't can't say I ever had the same problems career wise. I loved going out to work. I just loved it. I would go out and start another new career again tomorrow if I wasn't 60 years old, because I'm afraid nobody will take me seriously at this juncture. Um, but but yeah, I the number of experiences, and I think the reason to read the book is to say it doesn't matter what happens to you. Like, it doesn't matter how soon out of the gate someone, gives you a shot to the side of the head. Doesn't matter if you lost your finger. Doesn't matter if you broke your leg. Doesn't matter if you were, you were the big bad loser all through school. None of those things actually matter. The only thing that matters is that you keep going, and that becomes part of the fabric of your life. So it's an experience. I knew a lot of people over the years who something bad happened to them and then everything came to a dead halt and their
Yeah.
whole lives stopped, and it was all about that one thing that happened to them. And I always thought, I can't give that person that was associated with that or that thing that much power over my life. I can't do that.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
and I just think that any young person who feels like they got kicked in the side of the head or they didn't get what they were supposed to get, yeah,
Right.
welcome to the club. And by the way, you can keep going. You still get to do whatever you want to do. You can actually still do whatever it is that you want to do. And I think the reason for telling those stories is to say, yeah, it sucks. It does. And yes, you can still get up. And yes, you can still keep going. And yes, you still can have the kind of life that you want to have. You can still pursue those things. Don't let anybody tell you you can't. You're not entitled. You're not smart enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not rich. Or you don't know. No, none of that stuff matters. You can come back from anything,
Yeah.
anything. And don't let anybody, man or woman, tell you any different that you can't come back from something because you can. You absolutely can.
Yeah. No, that's an awesome way to try to bring us to the point where now we talk about the commercial part. About you have a website and your book, Love Child.
Yes.
Yeah, Love
Yep.
Child. And if I'm not mistaken, you have the website, you have it coming out on Amazon, and it's going to be out soon.
Yes.
So that's awesome. Really looking forward to it. I think you're going to have some fun with the book. Uh, and is there anything else that they can contact you? Is there another form of information that you would want to share?
No, I
Okay.
think the main focus out of anything is that there's nothing that you can't have. There's nothing that you cannot do, and you can always keep going. It's never over until you say that it's over. You can always keep going.
Amanda,
Yeah.
it has been a pleasure talking. It really
Okay.
has. I wish you luck with the book. Well, that's a wrap. That is it for this episode of Stories Author to Author. I hope you enjoyed in diving into the creative process of writing a book. And I hope to talk to you someday. So keep your efforts in terms of telling your story. Until next time, keep reading, keep writing, and keep sharing your stories. See you soon.